That it? Okay. Good evening, everybody. Would you please stand with me and recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item of business tonight is that we have, under new business, item number 2 has been pulled out of tonight's agenda. But moving on to what we didn't pull is, it appears, our weekly commissioner reports, and Commissioner Moore.
Okay. Goodness. Okay. Tomorrow I have Mason Transit Authority Board meeting. On Wednesday I have lunch meeting with Green Diamond regarding the railroad, and there's an after hours at Hood Canal Communications in Union that I will be attending. On Thursday I have a visioning meeting, and then a Vance Creek Trail stakeholder meeting. That's also more railroad business. And then I also have a Day of Caring planning meeting on Thursday. On Friday, I have the Day of Caring, which will be awesome. I'm very excited about it. So I will be out picking up garbage and hauling garbage in my truck.
That does sound exciting.
And in between that, I'm going to be attending the Mason County Realtors Housing Issues Briefing. So I'm not sure how well received I'm going to be after picking up garbage all morning, but we'll see. I'll be polite anyway. And then I need to announce that I will miss next Monday's meeting. So that's it.
All right. Commissioner McDowell?
Wednesday, the 17th, I have the Chambers After Hours out in Union at Hood Canal Communications. Friday, we'll be attending the Mason County Realtors Association State of the Housing in Mason County, and that's at the PUD out on Johns Prairie at 11 o'clock. And then that's my week, except my son gets married Saturday, so anyway, I didn't have to announce that, but
No, that's a personal thing.
I know, I'm excited.
Okay. Good, I'd be excited
Anyway.
too. Is that the son that climbed to the top of, like, whatever, Mount Everest?
Everest, yeah.
Not bad. Did you know her son did that? Climbed all the way to the top. Boy. All right. Now, what I'm doing is I'm on the Mason County Criminal Justice Board, and we will be having our board meeting on Wednesday. I was planning to attend on, I believe it's Thursday, maybe it's Wednesday, Chamber of Commerce After Hours.
Wednesday.
It is Wednesday? Okay. Planning to go to that one. And if I make it back from Seattle in time, I thought I would stop in on the Realtors Housing Summit thing on Friday. And so that completes our commission reports. Now is an opportunity for general public comment. We have 2 each night, each meeting. And so if anyone has something they'd like to say, they come in, sign in. We give you 3 minutes. If not, there's an opportunity a little later. Do we have anybody signed in, Wendy? All right, so why don't we move forward with the reading of the consent agenda? Are we ready for a reading of the consent agenda?
Yes.
Could we please have a reading of the consent agenda?
Consent agenda, vouchers numbered 12300 through 12405 in the amount of $320,916.41. Payroll warrants numbered 2444 through 2591 and 12276 through 12298 in the amount of $628,337.25. Transfers and direct banking fees in the amount of $32,443.86. Handwritten warrant numbered 12299 in the amount of $6,429.95 to Key Bank. Commission meeting minutes from August 1st, 2016, and study session of August 8th, 2016.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The consent agenda passes. Under old business tonight, we're going to have a briefing by Mr. Greg Clark, our Public Works Director, about the real estate excise tax REIT 2 and Transportation Benefit District budget modification.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. We had a retreat, as you remember, in March 25th of this year, where we discussed how the distribution of the new Transportation Benefit District funding as a result of the sales tax passing last fall would be distributed, and the Commission was pretty much in sync with the percentages that we have identified here, the 30% being for local street paving, 5% for non-motorized transportation, and 65% of it would go into a holding fund to provide leverage so we could get match money for grants and that type of thing. We didn't really, at the retreat, have a formal action on it, and before we complete our paving this year, we wanted to make sure that the Commission is still in alignment with that percentage breakdown. There is a correction, though I do need to indicate under the budget fiscal information. I used the numbers in the document you have in front of you based on a whole year's worth of real estate, the sales tax from the TBD. Actually, that number is revised. I talked to Thomas, our acting finance director. Because we are only able to collect about 6 months worth of revenue this year, because we needed to wait 6 months after the passage of the sales tax, we will only receive about $270,000 in the calendar year of 16, which then means the 30% of that, instead of $120,000, would be about $81,000 worth of revenue, and that would change that budget line item from the 509 that's in your document to 129,569. So just some number changes there based on the different total amount we expect to receive in 16. So if possible, to make sure that this is in alignment with the Commission, we would request that action actually be taken tonight on this item so that we don't have a delay in the paving that's, of course, going on right now. You're seeing lots of black asphalt going down out there, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Very good. First, this requires public comment because it's an action item, and what we've been doing is allowing anybody from the public to speak first, then we kind of talk about how we feel about it. So at this point, if anybody would like to talk about this specific issue, sign in and speak. If not, we will talk about it, and seeing nobody rushing forward. I know that it looks good to me. I mean, percentages are percentages, whether it's on $1 million or $500,000 or whatever, but I like the ratio. I think we came to an agreement, and so I am open to move forward on okaying this.
Okay.
And so Commissioner Moore, Commissioner McDowell, if you have any change from that retreat?
I do not, but I have a question. Can you give me the money figures instead of so much, we only have so much?
Certainly.
Okay.
So the $400,000 in your be the
Packet.
approximate value for the total year. Instead of 400, it's 270,000.
Okay.
And then the local street paving portion being 30% of that, instead of 120,000, is 81,000.
Okay.
And that budget line item will be increased from 48,569 to 129,569.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're not finished?
Well, I said it looks good. The percentages that we had decided on looked, it's looking good to stay. Yeah.
Well, and I'm seeing progress. I am so thrilled because last year, I think, was it 40,000 that we had total? And so we've already gone past that and work is being done, and I'm so happy about it. And next year, we'll see more money.
Even more.
That's great. Thank you, citizens of Shelton.
Yep, thank you.
All right, so I would request a motion to approve this.
I, let's see, okay, look, glasses on. Okay, I move that the commission authorize the city administrator to make any budget modifications necessary to accept this formula and these amounts.
And authorize the mayor to sign? Is that part of it? I just see it on my yellow sheet right here.
Oh, well, that isn't on mine. It looks like we're authorizing Ryan to sign, or make any budget modifications.
It's
Clarification?
not a contract, it's just authorization for the city administrator to make these budget modifications in the amounts of 30% for local street paving, 5% for non-motorized transportation, and 65% to go into a local match for capital projects.
Okay, does that motion sound good? All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. All right. First item under new business is going to be presented to us by our city engineer, Mike Michael.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Fairly quick one for you this evening. First of, well, last year's and this year's projects in combined are coming forward for final acceptance, finally. What we have before you this evening is the final acceptance for the site construction portion of the Angleside Booster Pump Station. This was the contract with Cayman Excavating that was issued back in early 2015. In the amount of $261,591.34. After everything is said and done, we did end up a little bit more than that. There were some site conditions that changed once we got all of the clearing work done, increased our restoration costs about $20,000. We also had a significant increase in our permit costs that were included in the bid, total of about $5,000 there. Final amount paid to Cayman for the entire project was $287,350.72, of which we are still holding just a little over $13,000 in retainage. Tonight's action, should the commission approve, will allow us to submit final documentation to the state to start the process needed for the release of that retainage. And just as a quick note, the primary issues were, as I said, the restoration was a big portion of it. There was also a portion of the concrete slab, particularly under the carport section, that quantities were not accounted for. However, in adjusting the quantities, it didn't change the position of the bidders. 1, 2, and 5 stayed in the same place, and 3 and 4 swapped slightly. So, in fact, number 2 bidder went from a differential of $50,000 as bid to $60,000 if we were using the actual quantities that were in place. So, this evening, we're asking that the Commission place this item on the consent agenda for next week to accept the Angleside Booster Station and authorize the Mayor and Commissioners to sign the final acceptance form.
All right, any questions or comments?
I just have one question here. So the final amount was a little bit over what the contract was. So does that money, the extra money, just come out of reserves then? Or?
Yeah, this project was fully funded essentially through reserves. The bond proceeds from a few years ago went into the reserves, and this project was intended to be paid out of all of those bond proceeds. In our budgeting for it, we did have some contingencies. The bid was significantly lower than we originally anticipated anyhow, so All in all, we should be in pretty good shape, I believe, and I haven't looked in a little bit of time, but our administrative costs were lower than we originally estimated at this point as well. So worst case, we should be a wash. We're actually probably better off than we originally budgeted back in late 2014. So.
Well, okay. That was my only question. It's nice to check one off the list.
Any other questions or
Nope.
comments?
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me. Okay, so we would like to request that this be placed, this Angleside Booster Pump Station final acceptance be placed on the consent agenda for August 22nd, 2016. All right, now moving into administration reports. It looks like we have one again by Mr. Greg Clark concerning Public Works update.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, Public Works has been kind of on the forefront with a lot of different water options and discussions regarding our Well 1. And as the Commission has desired, we're continuing to search for additional funding opportunities that might be out there. And then we're also developing a list of pros and cons associated with the expenditure of the additional $400,000 that would install a water pressure line from the Well 1, which would be rehabilitated, out to Well 3, where it could be connected to the Upper Mountain View Zone. So we'll bring that back on September 6th for your discussion. And the second item, I just wanted to just remind that we went through a discussion about option 1 being to lower the existing pump in the well shaft. And based on Commission direction to look a little deeper, we found several things, actually, staff did, that allowed us to basically table that option, to save that money, to move it towards the reconditioning of the well. And one thing that we did is we installed a new SCADA device that is an auto shutoff for that particular pump. As you remember, the drawdown curve on the water above the well pump was reaching concern level. And so this automated allows us to automatically shut that pump off now should the water level reach 9 feet. So we won't have any concern about burning out the pump, which would be a terrible loss, especially during the summer months now. We are proceeding with moving to the reconditioning of that particular well. We also operationally changed where Well 1 is used. It typically was the lead pump. When the tanks called for water, Well 1 would kick on and fill the tanks. Given the situation that we have going on with Well 1, we now move pumps 3 and 4 into first position. They actually come on together and fill the tanks. And Well 1 is now in the third position, and so we've monitored it all last week, and actually Well 1 did not come on all of last week. So it appears that 3 and 4 are keeping up, and so that's really good news. Option 2 in reconditioning the well, as you remember on the August 1st meeting, the Commission desired that we move forward with that in the amount of about $200,000. And it was at the Commissioner's request that we actually dug deeper into that and looked a little harder, contacted Arcadia Well Drilling, who's been kind of the lead for us in looking at that well. And we found out that, based on their information, when we looked at the Robinson's Noble report that was done for the design of Phase 2, which brought forward the recommendation of a new well, being Well 5, that, we can recondition this with fairly good confidence. And so that was really a jewel of discovery that we're pleased to have brought forward for the Commission's direction. Obviously, we don't want to spend any more loan money than we have to, and we're very confident that that's going to work well for us. There's a couple other things that, one other thing was that now that we started using Well 1 more, the hydrogen sulfide issue, the smell that was associated with the water on Well 1 has dissipated and gone away, I think, due to the additional use. So that's good to know moving forward in the future. As we're looking operationally at Wells 3 and 4, Well 3, which we reconditioned as part of Phase 1, we weren't getting the flows out of the well as we anticipated. The flows that we were reading off of the meter was around 750 gallons per minute, and we had a design for right around 1,000. And the guys went in and met with the contractor, dug deeper into that, and actually they had programmed the wrong K factor into the meter, and so actually we were getting over 1,000. We were getting actually around 1,150 gallons per minute out of that well instead of the 750. So that was a great news. Obviously, we want to be able to fill our tanks and that meant that, you know, the design was correct that moved forward. One other item is the Upper Mountain View project, the Pressure Zone Phase 1 project. The elevated tank that we built as part of that has been painted now. It's in the final stages of the electrical work, and water testing is underway, SCADA controls are being calibrated, and we're very close to putting that tank online. In fact, we're hoping that maybe by early September, mid-September, that tank will be functioning for us in the Upper Mountain View zone, which is great news for our state patrol partners, regional partners, that will soon energize that line that we extended out to them last year. Other good news, SR3 project, the Entry Corridor project, the Pear Orchard project, it's been in this right-of-way acquisition stage. We've had certified appraisers out there looking at the property. We needed to bring back a certified appraisal for Simpson to consider. That was done last week, and now that offer has officially been transmitted to Simpson for their review and consideration. So that's exciting news that that project could move possibly into the construction phase here fairly soon. And then the exciting news we talked about earlier about the paving. The crews have been out there the last 2 weeks getting ready for paving, and then last week and this week they're paving streets. So a lot of that Transportation Benefit District money is going to good use, and we're seeing some new pavement out there.
Fantastic.
Yes.
That's absolutely wonderful news. You know, it's interesting. I was thinking the other day again that Commissioner Moore and I were on a committee about 20 years ago talking about that pear orchard and that park over there. So trust me, seeing that come, sometimes, you know, government's hands move real slow or whatever they say. Well, it moves pretty slow, you know, but it's exciting to see that come around, and I appreciate all the work you guys are doing on all these projects. And as we work together, we're ready for some growth now. So very good. Is that completes your update there?
That is.
Good.
All right. Any other questions for Greg while we're here?
No, thanks for good news.
Yeah. Yeah, we're good to hear some good news. That's right.
We are going to have our Pear Orchard Park.
Yes. Let's do it. I want to eat a pear. So, all right. Thank you very much. And so at this point, what I'm going to do is turn this meeting over to our new city administrator, Ryan Wheaton, for any further discussion.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. A couple things. First, I want to request that you concur that I be given the signator authority for the exclusive sale and listing agreement. This is for 2125 Washington. Previously, you had concurred that Steve Goins would have the authority, and this is one thing that he couldn't get to before he left. So the only change here is that I will be the person that can sign if you concur.
I concur with
Yes.
that.
I do, yes.
Second thing is that we are moving forward with finance director interviews. So we are going to interview next Thursday, the 25th. We are going to have Kathy McDowell.
I'm on the schedule.
Commissioner of Finance. She will be there. And we met with Prothman today. We have 4 candidates that we're going to bring forward. So we are looking forward to having another update in a couple weeks.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. This is opportunity, general public comment. If anybody wants to say anything, now is your opportunity. And all you got to do is sign in the sheet. Take 3 minutes. Seeing nobody signed in,
Oh, wait.
but you certainly can. Yeah, just come forward, you sign your name right there, and then go to the podium and. Just state your name for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Tina Post. Sorry, I'm sadly unprepared for tonight. I didn't know
No.
about the meeting until it was a little...
We're a small city.
And Commissioners Moore and McDowell, you actually had touched on the issue that I'm here about. I would like to work together with city and county officials and start building tiny home communities for the homeless. When you mentioned about the meetings with the housing, you know, on that issue, if that's something that would touch on that, I would like to attend that, and I could be much better prepared for that with the planning. And then, Chief Moody, I would like to talk with you about that too, because I believe that would help the community in lots of ways, like the gardening and the beautification of our city and reducing crime and giving homeless a little self-respect and off the streets and to work.
Well, thank you so much, Tina. And I think there are very many avenues that we can all get involved in that. And I'm sure you put your phone number there, and I'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I didn't even push the little button for the 3-minute thing, so.
We can tell she's efficient.
She did, very efficient. All right, it looks like any more administration final touches then? Okay, all right. Our next meeting will be next Monday, August 22nd at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. This meeting is adjourned.